All right, so welcome to today's Lunch and Learn. My name is Claire Riley. I am the Senior Brand and Content Lead at Metagy, which is a tech startup that helps small businesses with their digital marketing. So today I'm here to talk to you about how to find your content opportunity. It is my belief that every business has a content opportunity and has a story to tell. So I'm going to get into those slides now. Yeah. So one of the things that I think is really interesting about creating content, or this idea of content marketing, is that actually creating content isn't new. So these are some examples from the 1800s. So the first example is from a UK travel agent called Thomas Cook. It's a magazine called The Excursionist, and it basically provided travel advice to would-be holiday makers and published.
I've got a different image on that.
Oh.
Maybe presenting there and showing on me.
Oh, it's frozen on yours, that's why.
You're frozen too?
Yeah, it's frozen on there, look.
Sorry. Right, now it's caught up.
Okay. All right, so we've got these two magazines here from the 1800s. So the top one is from a UK travel agent called Thomas Cook. They were producing this magazine as a form of content marketing. They were selling over 100,000 copies in the UK, and it was published in 10 different editions worldwide. And I think it was still publishing up until a couple of years ago. So, you know, this sort of thing has really been around for a while. And the bottom magazine still publishes today, and it's from John Deere. And it's a journal for farmers. And so it would provide advice for people working in agriculture. And is really credited with one of the early examples of modern content marketing.
Maybe this thing just probably flashed, I think.
Seems fine on mine, yeah.
You may have been passed across the posting because you're the last person in the meeting.
Okay.
Just give me a second, straight at this. This has never happened. Technical problems never happen. Yeah, that's the other points I never heard.
Yeah.
We're back up on emotions working, recording, continuing.
Okay. And brands everywhere realize that. So people trust expertly written advice and insights. It helps your brand to build credibility in a chosen area. It keeps your brand top of mind when they're ready to buy or engage with your service. And really, it's where our prospective customers are. So, you know, people wake up in the morning, they go onto social media. I would love it if they were coming to, you know, our website, but they're not. And it's really a really good point to mention that websites that have blog content and, you know, regular content that's updated have 434% more search engine index pages than sites that aren't regularly publishing. So it's a really important thing to note. And about 70% of consumers learn about a company through articles rather than ads because they're doing a lot more research. So one of the things that I really like to remember as a marketer is that we as marketers always look for a return on investment, but I think your audience that's engaging with your brand profiles, your social media, your content, they really expect a return on their attention. And so I really like the way of thinking about that, you know, it's really about providing people with something of value. But creating content gets really messy, and a lot of small businesses just don't have time for it. They don't know where to start. Why should I do it? Why would somebody want to hear from me? What do I talk about? So we're going to walk through some points now on how to simplify your approach to content, but also uncover the things that you could talk about in your business. So my first tip.
This thing's still trying to catch on.
Oh yeah. So my first tip is to do less to deliver more. So what I mean by this is to spend more time creating content. So I think there's a bit of a misconception that, you know, sort of you've got to be pumping out a high volume of content, but actually you don't need to. So it's really important to be deliberately more considered, because mediocre content doesn't benefit the reader or your brand. And I think using the extra time to do things like keyword research and understanding that content is a long game, I think is really worth it. Point number two, I think, is to try and forget your competition. So I think it's really important to not obsess over your competitors. It's not something that I consciously think about a lot, but you should probably obsess over your own content plans and what you're doing there, and the buy-in that you get from people that are within your broader business. Knowing your readers and serving them well is a really important point. So they deserve to be the center of everything that you're creating. And one of the questions that I ask all the time is, why would somebody read this? What is it that they're going to get from it? So that's really important to remember. Point number three is to try and find your inner journalist. So I started my career as a journalist and moved into the better paid side of the fence in marketing. But it's a skill set that kind of remains with me. And it's really important to be curious and dig deeper. So again, you know, kind of always asking why is really important. Making sure that every piece of content has that why is crucial. My recommendation is that if you don't know why you would write something, don't do it. And I think dig into the problems, and we'll talk a bit more about customers' problems and how that links into your content. But you should really know your customer's problem, why they're engaging with you, and use that to create your content and help provide advice for them. I think repurposing content where you can is a really great tip. So you should keep an updated content inventory. A simple spreadsheet is fine. Looking at analytics, if you can, over the top to see what's popular and what's not popular. Find content that needs a second chance. So I used to work for HCF, the health insurer, and we had a really big IT project that meant we couldn't publish any new content on our website. But we had a newsletter that would go out, an email newsletter that would go out to 500,000 people once a month. And we were like, okay, well, we can't publish new content. We can't put anything new on our website. So what we did is we went back through some older content and just resurfaced that was appropriate for COVID times. And we didn't have to commission anything or write anything new. So use what's already on your website, because sometimes it might feel old to you, but actually, you know, you might be surfacing it to people for the first time. So that saves a lot of time and money. Another good point is to speak like your customers. So I think some small businesses really struggle with tone of voice and how to talk to customers and what to say and what your content style is. And I think really just your tone of voice is, you know, how you talk to customers. So using internet searches can really help steer your tone of voice. So at HCF, we would look at what people were putting into Google for things like, do they say health insurance or do they say health cover? And that would help us to really sort of pinpoint how we should be talking to our customers. Again, you know, do they say rebate or do they say benefit? And, you know, uncovering that through Google searches is a really great tip. Point number 6 is to get close to your front line. So if you've got salespeople or customer service people, I think that these can really be used as content idea generators. So in a lot of my work, I've spent a lot of time with the sales team or the customer service team trying to understand what the problems are, what are the conversations that they're having, and then what's the content we can create around that. And so I think having an open forum for people that are on your front line really helps you to understand where the gaps might be and how you can fill them. Point number 7 is to double down on your content opportunity. I'm going to explain a little bit about what that is. So I think it's really imperative to say that you cannot produce content about everything for everybody. And so identifying your content opportunity and going hard on that is, like, honestly the best thing that you can do for streamlining your content and your marketing. And every business has a content opportunity. So At HCF, our content opportunity was that 50% of Australians have health insurance. None of them know how to use it, why they have it, and most of them don't like it very much. And so we had an opportunity there to uncover this kind of complete mystery that health insurance is. You know, why would you use it? How should you interact with it? When do you call your health insurer? You know, things like that. And so what we did is we labeled that problem as an education program, and then started to create articles that were really advice-led, regardless of where they were in their health journey. And we really sort of kept that at the very core of our content. So uncovering your content opportunity is really important. At Metigy, our content opportunity is that small business owners really struggle to do their marketing because they're just wearing so many hats. And so we provide advice on how to do that, but also how to use technology to do it, and use technology as the extension of your marketing team. So number 8 is to bring your product into your content. So some people really struggle with knowing what their content topics are, what their content pillars are. And my advice is that your content pillars are your product. And I'll give some examples of what I mean by that. But at HCF, they were mapped out from the journey that we knew that our members would go on. So it was signing up for health insurance, using health insurance, you know, going into hospital, all of that kind of thing. With Metigy, they are the areas of marketing that our users can action in our platform. So I'll show you what that looks like now. So this is what it looked like at HCF. So you can see at the top here, we had our vision, which was to make healthcare understandable, affordable, high quality, and to be member centric. These are all of the touch points in the next row down that our members would go through. So it was things like, you know, caring for their health, using their cover, reviewing their cover, you know, am I getting the most value? And so what we would do then is bucket those, because again, you know, there's kind of 8 or 9 journey points there. What we would do is bucket those into 4 key areas that we knew that we could write content about. And that's what we would focus our content efforts on. So sharing content about, you know, signing up for health insurance, sharing content about caring for my health, because we know that, you know, the health system is under increasing strain. And so giving people advice on how to stay healthy, you know, was a really core component. How to use the health cover, and then reviewing and switching. So, you know, I might not be using my cover. What should I do? And then this is what that looks like for Metigy. So it's similar, but a bit different. So here our content themes are the things that you can do in the Metigy platform. So you can build your marketing strategy, you can create your content, run your advertising, measure your success, and drive your brand experience. And within those themes, we have kind of understood that these are the things that we cover. These are the things that you can do in the tool. And so these are the areas that we can speak on with authority. And these are our guardrails of, you know, like these are our lanes. These are the lanes that we stay in. And so when you log into the Metigy platform, this is literally the main menu of the platform. And so your product can really inform the topics that you talk about. So don't be afraid to bring your product into it in that way. So I think that's a really good tip. Match SEO to what you're selling. So if you do engage with SEO, one of the tips is to start at the bottom. So BOFU, which stands for the bottom of the funnel. It sounds a bit funny, but it's really your friend when it comes to content. So it's very true that, you know, SEO drives the top of the funnel, but the top of the funnel is very, very broad. And so, you know, for HCF, for example, we could have written content about anything health and well-being, but that's an enormous pool of topics. So what we did is really got pointy and looked at, when do people start to interact with us from a ready to buy perspective? What are those moments that they go through when they are buying? And that's the content that we're going to start writing about, because it's narrower and it's more manageable for us to start at the bottom, and then we can kind of work our way up to the top of the funnel. And it's the same with Metigy. We could write about anything small business, we could write about anything marketing, but we choose to stay at the bottom of the funnel closer to that kind of area where people are buying from us or choosing to buy our service, and really kind of trying to, I guess, dominate that space as much as possible. So what we do is we really try and imagine writing an explainer guide. So if somebody was going to come and buy or subscribe to Metigy, which is a tool for small businesses to do their marketing, if we were going to write an explainer guide about using technology to do your small marketing, we would then start to chunk the chapters of that guide out into blogs. At HCF, for example, we might look at, okay, our explainer guide is, you know, your guide to buying health insurance. So then the blogs and the chapters within that guide would be how to choose private health insurance. And we would write a blog on that. What do you need to consider? Should I buy the cheapest private health cover? And how to compare Australia's private health funds. So we would really kind of break down, imagining like a big kind of chunky manual, and break that down into like topic areas. And so my next point is related to that. It's getting curious with what we call content clusters. So we at HCF literally thought about what are the areas that are related to our product. And we got in a room a little bit like this, and we put pieces of paper all around the room, and we had things like ambulance cover, dental cover, cheap health insurance. We had things like going to hospital. And what we did is we just brainstormed on Post-it notes as a team. Okay, if you're thinking about ambulance cover, what are all the things that you need to know? You need to know how different it is from state to state. And before you know it, you've got Post-it notes on these kind of big pages that are all of your blog topics. And we just inputted those into a spreadsheet, and that was the content that we went and created. So you can brainstorm each area into content clusters. And this is an example here. We took the topic, the cost of private health insurance, and we came up with, you know, why does it cost so much money? Should I look for the cheapest cover? How much should I be paying? Will switching funds cost me money? And why do premiums go up? So these were very common questions, you know, and things like just asking questions about your product, things like, you know, do I pay for kids on my cover? You know, things like that, that actually really became a blog topic. We then sort of talked about, you know, things you need to know about, you know, getting your kids insured for private health. And before you know it, you've actually got a really big pool of content that you can pull from, because you're tapping into the questions and the problems that your customers have and your users have, and just turning those into blogs. So use questions. I think questions are a really great starting point for topics. And it's really important to accept that some content will just tank. So, you know, it is really okay to fail. And I think you can use these 2 checks before admitting defeat. You know, has it been optimized enough? So there was a lot of content at HCF that hadn't been optimized, that had just been put on the website, wasn't optimized for search, and so nobody could really find it. And also distribution. Did it go out in an email? Have you used it in your advertising or your paid social? Have you posted it on social? But not everything is going to be a magical content success. So at HCF, they had a startup accelerator program for people who were really like solving important problems in the health industry. And, you know, they were a really heavy supporter of that program. So we would write content about some of these startups that were coming through this kind of accelerator program, but it was some of our least read content, and it's because our users didn't care about it. So members, you know, who signed up to HCF, some might have done, but on the whole, they wanted to read content about losing weight and sex and, you know, things that are just like very interesting. Whereas, you know, some of the tech content, as much as it was important, it just wasn't anything that was of interest to our users. So, and that sucks a bit, but, you know, what can you do? And I think another one is to be softer with your call to actions. So you should always put a call to action on your content, but it doesn't always need to be a hard sell or a join today. You can think about a couple of steps before that. So content has always been about having a conversation. So you can always ask people to send you an email, or call you for a chat, there's actually a feature in Facebook where you can drive your Facebook ads to start a message with you. So you can drive people to actually start a conversation, to start a direct conversation with you. And so that's kind of an example of like a softer CTA, you know, inviting people to ask you questions and ask you for advice. And that's a really good way to engage with people that isn't always fill out this form or, you know, sign up here or buy our product. So I think being helpful is a really good CTA. And then tip number 13, which I think might be my last one, is to do dummy searches. So what I mean by this is you don't have to break the bank to research content topics and to know the words that are close to your business in terms of search engines. So you can do dummy searches pretending to be a customer. So go onto Google, start to type in words that might be related to your business and see what other terms come up. There's a section at the bottom of Google that has like related keywords, and that'll give you some insight. Ask your friends and family to do it for you and keep track of the keywords that they're using and what they come up with. And that will really give you some really interesting insights, some different language, some ideas for topics. And remember to also look at the ads that your close competitors use. So do a Google search for your competitors, see what they're using in their advertising, see what they're using on their own website. It's a really good way to own your research and, you know, use that to kind of inform what you're talking about. And then here are just some tools that you can use in order to get some content produced and written, because I think sometimes it's very difficult for small business owners to, you know, take on writing blog content or, you know, social media posts or creating strategies for that. So these are some tools that I've used and like highly recommend. So the first is Upwork. So that's a freelancer marketplace. And you can see here that there's people on here who can help you with things like design and creative, sales and marketing, writing and translation. Fiverr is another example of that. Has tons of people on there who are expert and, you know, they're freelancers working from home.
Fiverr's quite a popular one.
Yeah, Fiverr is very popular. Yeah, it is. You know, a lot of these people are Australian based. So it's a really good one. Writer on Fiverr. Yeah. So they're US owned, but they do have a lot of Australian freelancers, and will show you prices in Australian dollars and all of that kind of thing. So you'll know how much jobs cost. Writer Access is another good tool. So that's specifically only for writers. So you can put sort of your briefs in there to say, you know, this is what we want writing, and they get turned around quite quickly. And Contentfly is one that we have used most recently at Metigy. That is it's more of a subscription tool. So you subscribe to it, but you can cancel at any time. We subscribed, and I think we had about 4,000 words a month to use. So we would go in there, you know, we take our content clusters and we put the content clusters in as briefs and say to, you know, a writer, can you write us a blog on, you know, this, that, and the other that had come from our content clusters? And it would just kind of keep our blog content turning over, and we'd get a bit of a steady stream of content coming in, and then it would come into us, we'd edit it and put it on our website. So there are tools out there that are available for you to outsource. The good things about Fiverr and Upwork is that there's different price points depending on who you want to use, what you can afford. So there are people out there that suit, you know, all businesses and budgets. Contentfly, I think we were paying about $300 a month for 4,000 words. So, you know, it can be, so the 4,000 words is your monthly allocation. So you can use that, you can use as much of that as you want to in a month. It does roll over.
What do they actually do? Do you give them something and they give you
so you basically would put a brief in to say, I want a blog written on this, I want this blog to be 1,000 words, so that 1,000 words would come out of your 4,000, and then they would go away and write it and bring it back to you in the system.
So you would obviously write A very brief blog of what you want.
A summary of what you want. Yeah. And then they go away and you can say, you know, I want a blog on how to buy health insurance. Please make sure you answer these questions, you know, 2 or 3 things in there, and you would get back an article to your specified word count, and that would be ready for you to use on your website. So
they would do research on the subject.
Yeah, they are professional writers, ex-journalists, content marketers, you know, that sort of thing.
Know the subject you've asked them to talk about, they'll go and ask you someone else.
So they match, the writers are matched to your area of expertise.
Oh, okay.
So for us, we need writers who understand and know digital marketing so that they can write about, you know, things like Google advertising. You know, for HCF, for example, we would use writers that were familiar with writing about insurance or financial services. So, and you can, in a lot of these, you can input these, or you can also search. So on Fiverr, you could search, for example, for agricultural writers, and they would find people who match that criteria. So it's really good. You know, it's people that might be, who might have been working in content or journalism. You know, it might be, you know, women that are on maternity leave that, you know, just want to earn a bit of money. No, it's not. These are not tools that are run by AI or anything like that. These are human beings that are producing the work for you and working with you to create the output. So there are, yeah.
It gives, being online, it gives a very broad, a big database to source.
Yeah, it does. And there's people everywhere. So Writer Access has an enormous pool of people. So in one of my previous roles, we would use Writer Access to create content about the hotel booking industry. So that's a very like business to business topic, behind the scenes of, you know, how people are booking hotels. But there were people on there who were familiar with it and could write about it. So
it's a massive commercial industry.
Yeah, and I think you would struggle to not find people on these tools who could write to your topic area, or at least do the research and learn about it. You know,
something unique in there would probably find you'd have a left-handed green mouse specialist, and you'd probably someone else.
Absolutely. You know, before I joined HCF, I knew nothing about health insurance. That kind of worked in my favor because it made me more curious about it. But it was my job as a writer and a content person to get up to speed on it and be able to translate that information into something understandable for a reader. So that is the job of professional writers. So I think you can use these tools to find resources. So yeah, I think that's it. That's the end of my presentation. That covers it.
But questions? Anyone in the room?
Is there anyone in the room? Yeah, lots of little thought bubbles along the way, but
Matt would be what he's saying too.
Yeah, so Stuart is just saying there was a lot of thought bubbles there.
So just coming back to the model that your business operates on. So
yeah.
Is it like a workflow thing that helps you create the workflow to actually create the content?
Yeah. So you can go in and so basically Metigy is an AI powered marketing platform for small business owners. And what that means is you can basically go in, connect your social media channels for your business, and we have machine learning that runs in the background and is basically analyzing like your pages, your audience, your competitors to bring you recommendations and insights. So you might have put a piece of content on that performs really well, and Metigy's recommendation engine would say to you, this content is performing really well. If you boost this content for $50, your engagement on this post will increase by 300%, or you'll reach 80% more people. I think one of the things that's really different about our platform, and one of the biggest pain points for small business owners, is that you can go into Facebook and export your data and your analytics and all of that kind of thing. But what you do with that information and how you interpret it just takes such a long time. You know, you'd really have to analyze the numbers. And so AI and machine learning is particularly powerful because it is just doing all of that work for you. And we look at an enormous amount of data touch points and translate that into actionable things that you can go away and do. In there's also a content calendar, so you can go and schedule and set up your content. It'll show you the best days for you to post your content. That's kind of one of the insights that the machine learning is always looking at. You can set up your Google ads through Metigy. Well, we teach you how to do that step by step. It's very insightful. We've also got some inbuilt creative services. We're about to release a big update to our content creation tool where you can basically go in and preview and build your content and see what it looks like. But the difference for us is that you can post to multiple channels and you can customize that content per channel, but you're doing it all in one window. So if you're posting something to Facebook that might be a bit more casual, but you're posting something, the same thing to LinkedIn, and you want to tweak the copy, you can just do it all in one screen. You're not having to create, you know, lots of different posts. So it's really about streamlining that process. And one of the things that's really interesting about the AI and the machine learning is that the insights that are delivered to you are delivered specifically for your brand. So we're not saying florists in Sydney typically see good engagement on Tuesdays. We're saying your florist is seeing good engagement on Fridays, and that should be the day that you post. It is always specific to your brand. It's never about anybody else. So I think that's a really powerful difference for, particularly for small business owners who just want to get this stuff done, don't have the time to do it. A lot of the time don't want to do it. A lot of business owners don't want to be doing reels and TikToks and don't want to be on social media. So, you know, getting to the nitty gritty of what you should do and when you should do it, I think is a really important differentiator for us. And, you know, this technology is usually reserved for bigger marketing teams with bigger budgets. And this is just really simple and easy. So, yeah, I'd be happy to show you more about that. You can set it up for free as well. It's free. There is a paid account that gives you sort of more features and things. But if you want to get started and just explore and practice and see what it's about, you can do that for free. So yeah, it's really, we think it's really changing the game for small businesses. I think, you know, for us, SMEs account for 98% of the businesses in Australia. And so, you know, there just needs to be more technology designed for people who are wearing many, many hats and don't have marketing teams or big budgets. Yeah. I think that's the big difference.
It's also difficult for them because a lot of data can come from this, and knowing data is useless if you don't know what to do with it.
Absolutely right. And I did a big presentation a few weeks ago, just like on our for internal on our brand, and I was looking at our competitors and how many users our competitors have. It took me like the best part of a day to sift through all of the data, put that data into charts and graphs, and then interpret it. And it's like, I'm a professional marketer, it's my job. So, you know, I'm not running a small business doing the finance and the HR and sales and customer service. Like that is my, you know, it's really my only job, and it still took me a day. So I think, you know, it's really challenging, but, you know, breaking it down and being simple, doing things smaller, like less is definitely more, I think. And yeah, using technology to try and streamline processes is, it can be a scary thing to do, but I think, you know, it is just the way that things are going, really. Yeah.
But it's interesting the way that you put content in a service basically. So health insurance.
Yeah.
So to me, that's really relevant. The journey that you went through with HCS. So I suppose that's more of a comment than a question.
Yeah.
More people assume that a product is a physical product, something that you can tangible.
Yeah.
It's actually really tricky for a service product.
It can be, yeah. So just for people that might be watching this back, so Stuart's comment was about creating content when your product is not really a product, it's more of a service. And yeah, I think just the key is really to look at like the actions that your customers take, whether they're buying a tangible product in store or whether you're running a helpline. You know, what are the actions that your customers are taking with you? What are the questions that they might be asking about your product and your service? And that is just your content. That is your content opportunity. And, you know, you can, I think, finding, you know, what is their biggest problem, you know, and labeling that as that education program. What is the thing that I need to educate my customers who come to me? What is that opportunity? Like, that is just what your content should be about and nothing else. And, you know, for a lot of businesses, they don't need to do anything else. But, you know, it can become really overwhelming really quickly because you think that you've got to do 10 blogs a week and, you know, all these TikToks and reels and all of this stuff. But actually, you know, you don't have to do that. You can keep it simple and just be helpful. I think that's just the best advice. Yeah. Okay. I think we'll wrap up there then. Yeah, there's no more questions. Thank you.
And just remind people who are from.
Oh, yes. So thanks for joining. My name is Claire. I am Senior Brand and Content Lead at Metigy. You can look me up on LinkedIn. It's Claire Riley. And yeah, I'll share these slides so you can look back on them and say hi if you're ever in Canvas. Thanks.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.